take what's happening in education. Right now, the last recent years, there's a strong tendency to require assessment of children and teachers, so that you have to teach to tests, and the test determines what happens to the child and what happens to the teacher. That's guaranteed to destroy any meaningful educational process. It means a teacher cannot be creative, imaginative, pay attention to individual students' needs. The student can't pursue things that maybe some kid is interested in something. You can't do it because you got to memorize something for this test tomorrow. And the teacher's future depends on it as well as the students. These are all ways of, the people who are sitting in the offices, the bureaucrats, and designing this, like you say, they're not evil people, but they're working within a system of ideology and doctrines which turns what they're doing into something extremely harmful. First of all, you don't have to assess people all the time. I mean, if a person's kind of doing their job, kids are getting along, and things, that's fine, and go ahead. I mean, people don't have to be ranked in terms of some artificial, the assessment itself is completely artificial. It's not ranking teachers in accordance with their ability to help develop children who'll reach their potential, explore their creative interests and so on. Those things you're not testing. So you're giving some kind of a rank, but it's a rank that's mostly meaningless. And the very ranking itself is harmful. It's turning us into individuals who devote our lives to achieving a rank, not into doing things that are valuable and important. It's highly destructive at the lower, this is, say, elementary education, so you're training kids this way, and it's very harmful. I could see it with my own children. When my own kids were in elementary school, at what's called a good school, good quality suburban school, by the time they were in third grade, they were dividing up their friends into dumb and smart. You're dumb if you're lower tract, you're smart if you're upper tract. I mean, think what that does to the children. Doesn't matter where they're tracked. The children who take it seriously, like we could kind of help them not take it seriously. But if you're caught up in that, it's just extremely harmful. And it has nothing to do with education. Education is developing your own potential and creativity. I mean, maybe you're not going to do well in school and you'll do great in art. That's fine. What's wrong with that? It's another way to live a fulfilling, a wonderful life, and one that's significant for other people as well as yourself. But so the whole idea is first of all wrong in itself, and it's harming it's creating it's kind of a system of creating something that's called economic man. There's a concept of economic man, which is, economics literature and so on. And an economic man is somebody who rationally calculates how to improve his own status, and status means basically wealth. So you rationally calculate what kinds of choices you should make to increase your wealth, and you don't pay any attention to anything else. Or maybe maximize the number of goods you have, because that's what you can measure. Those are things you can measure. So and if you do that properly, you're kind of a rational person making informed judgments. You can improve what's called your human capital, what you can sell on the market. What kind of a human being is that? I mean, is that the kind of human being you want to create? And all of these mechanisms that you're describing, like testing, assessing, evaluating, measuring, they force people to develop those characteristics. The ones who don't do it are considered maybe behavior problems or some other deviance. Maybe something goes wrong, and then they drop out and maybe try to survive on drugs or something. Or if it's in Mexico, they become what are called illegal immigrants because you've driven them off the land. These things have these ideas and concepts have consequences. And it's not just that they're ideas, there are huge industries devoted to trying to instill them. The public relations industry, advertising and marketing and so on. It's a huge industry. It's maybe a sixth of gross domestic product. And it's a propaganda industry. It's a propaganda industry designed to create a certain type of human being, one who can maximize consumption and can disregard his actions on others. It's massive. It starts with infants. You know? In fact, I remember a study recently which made some publicity about the advertisers realized that there's a segment of the population that they're not reaching. You have to reach everyone. But there was a segment they weren't reaching, children, because children don't have incomes. So the advertisers had sort of not targeted them, but some smart guy realized that you can get the children to be consumers by inducing them to nag their parents. So a branch of psychology developed, literally in the universities, in applied psychology of nagging. How you can nag this way if you want that thing, and you can nag the other way if you don't want the other, and so on. And you take a look at, I remember watching television with my grandchildren when they were little. They're deluged with propaganda that tells them you've got to have this, $400 mechanical something or other. So get your parents to do it. Get them to understand that you're going to be miserable, and your friends will hate you, and your life won't be worthwhile unless you get this thing. That's what our culture is designed to do, and it's a huge industry. Actually, in the early days, back in the 1920s, it was called propaganda. The major text of the PR industry by one of its gurus, Edward Bernays, back in the 20s, was called propaganda. And that's what it was. We don't call it that anymore. The word propaganda has a kind of a bad connotation, so it's called I don't know what. But it's exactly the same thing.